The story of Abraham. The call of Abraham. Yahweh said to Abram, leave your country, your kindred, and your father's house for a country which I shall show you. And I shall make you a great nation. I shall bless you and make your name famous. You are to be a blessing. I shall bless those who bless you, and shall curse those who curse you. And all clans on earth will bless themselves by you. So Abram went as Yahweh told him, and Lot went with him. Abram was 75 years old when he left Haran. Abram took his wife Sarai, his nephew Lot, all the possessions they had amassed, and the people they had acquired in Haran. They set out for the land of Canaan and arrived there. Abram passed through the country as far as the holy place at Shechem, the oak of Moreh. The Canaanites were in the country at the time. Yahweh appeared to Abram and said, I shall give this country to your progeny. And there Abram built an altar to Yahweh who had appeared to him. From there he moved on to the mountainous district of Bethel, where he pitched his tent, with Bethel to the west and Ai to the east. There he built an altar to Yahweh and invoked the name of Yahweh. Then Abram made his way stage by stage to the Negeb, Abram in Egypt. There was a famine in the country, and Abram went to Egypt to stay there for a time. Since the famine in the country was severe, when he was about to enter Egypt, he said to his wife Sarai, look, I know you are a beautiful woman. What when the Egypts say when they see you they will say that is his wife, and they will kill me but leave you alive. Therefore please tell them you are my sister, so that they may treat me well because of you and spare my life out of regard for you. When Abram arrived in Egypt, the Egyptians did indeed see that the woman was very beautiful. When Pharaoh's officials saw her, they sang her praises to Pharaoh, and the woman was taken into Pharaoh's household. And Abram was very well treated because of her, and received flocks, oxen, donkeys, men, and women slaves, she donkeys, and camels. But Yahweh inflicted severe plagues on Pharaoh and his household because of Abram's wife Sarah. So Pharaoh summoned Abram and said, what is this you have done to me? Why did you not tell me that she was your wife? Why did you say she is my sister, so that I took her to be my wife? Now here is your wife. Take her and go. And Pharaoh gave his people orders about him. They sent him on his way with his wife and all his possessions. Abram and Lot separate. From Egypt, Abram returned to the Negeb with his wife and all he possessed, and Lot with him. Abram was very rich in livestock, silver, and gold. By stages he went from the Negeb to Bethel, where he had first pitched his tent between Bethel and Ai. At this place where he had formerly erected the altar, there Abram invoked the name of Yahweh. Lot, who was traveling with Abram, had flocks and cattle of his own, and tents too. The land was not sufficient to accommodate them both at once, for they had too many possessions to be able to live together. Dispute broke out between the herdsmen of Abram's livestock and those of Lot. The Canaanites and Perizzites were living in the country at the time. Accordingly, Abram said to Lot, we do not want discord between us or between my herdsmen and yours, for we are kinsmen. Is not the whole land open before you? Go in the opposite direction to me. If you take the left, I will go right. If you take the right, I will go left. Looking round, Lot saw all the Jordan plain, irrigated everywhere. This was before Yahweh destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, like the garden of Yahweh, or the land of Egypt as far as Zoar. So Lot chose all the Jordan plain for himself and moved eastwards. Thus they parted company. Abram settled in the land of Canaan. Lot settled among the cities of the plain, pitching his tents on the outskirts of Sodom. Now the people of Sodom were vicious and great sinners against Yahweh. Yahweh said to Abram, after Lot had parted company from him, look all round from where you are, to north and south, to east and west. For all the land within sight I shall give you to you and your descendants forever. I shall make your descendants like the dust on the ground. When people succeed in counting the specks of dust on the ground, then they will be able to count your descendants too. On your feet, travel the length and breadth of the country, for I mean to give it to you. So Abram moved his tent and went to settle at the oak of Mamre at Hebron, and there he built an altar to Yahweh. The campaign of the four great kings. When Amraphel, king of Shinar, Ariok, king of Elazar, Shedor Laomer, king of Elam, and Tidal, king of the Goim, made war on Ber, king of Sodom, Bersha, king of Gomorrah, Shinab, king of Admah, Shemeber, king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, that is Zor. All the latter joined forces in the valley of Siddim, now the Salt Sea. For 12 years they had been under the yoke of Shedor Laomer, but in the 13th year they revolted. In the 14th year, Shedor Laomer arrived, and the kings who had allied themselves with him. They defeated the Rephaim at Ashertoth, Karnaim, the Zuzim at Ham, the Emim in the plain of Kirithaim, the Horites in the mountainous district of Seir near El Paran, which is on the edge of the desert. Wheeling round, they came to the spring of judgment, that is Kadesh. They conquered all the territory of the Amalekites and also the Amorites who lived in the Hazazon Tamar. Then the kings of Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, Zeboim, and Bela, that is where, marched out and engaged them in the valley of Siddim. Shedor Lamor, king of Elam, Tidal, king of the Goim, Amraphel, king of Shinar, and Ariok, king of Elazar. 4 kings against 5. Now there were many bitumen wells in the valley of Siddim, and in their flight the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah fell into them, while the rest fled into the hills. The conquerors seized also possessions of Sodom and Gomorrah and all their provisions and made off. They also took Lot, the nephew of Abram, and his possessions and made off. He had been living at Sodom. A survivor came to tell Abram, Ananer, the Hebrew, who was living at the oak of the Amorite Mamre, the brother of Eshcol. They were allies of Abram. When Abram heard that his kinsman had been taken captive, he mustered his retainers born in his own household, numbering 318, and gave chase as far as Dan. He and his retainers deployed against them under cover of dark, defeated them, and pursued them as far as Hobah, north of Damascus. He recaptured all the goods as well as his kinsman Lot, and his possessions together with the women and people. Melchizedek. When Abram returned from defeating Shedor and the kings who had been on his side, the king of Sodom came to meet him in the valley of Shaveh, that is the valley of the king. Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought bread and wine. He was a priest of God Most High. He pronounced this blessing. Blessed be Abram by God Most High, and creator of heaven and earth, and blessed be God Most High for putting your enemies into your clutches. And Abram gave him a tenth of everything. The king of Sodom said to Abraham, give me the people and take the possessions for yourself. But Abram replied to the king of Sodom, I swear by God Most High, creator of heaven and earth, not one thread, not one sandal strap will I take of what is yours. For you are able to say, I made Abram rich. For myself, nothing except what the troops have used up, and the share due to the men who came with me, Eshcol, Aner, and Mamre. Let them take their share. the divine promises and covenant. Sometime later, the word of Yahweh came to Abram in a vision. Do not be afraid, Abram. I am your shield and shall give you a great reward, a very great reward. Lord Yahweh, Abram replied, what use are your gifts, as I am going to be going on my way childless? Since you have given me no offspring, Abram continued, a member of my household will be my heir. Then Yahweh's word came to him in a reply. Such a one will not be your heir. No, your heir will be the issue of your own body. Then taking him outside, he said, look up at the sky and count the stars, if you can. Just so will your descendants be, he told him. Abram put his faith in Yahweh, and this was reckoned to him as uprightness. He then said to him, I am Yahweh, who brought you out of Ur of the Chaldeans to give you this country as your possession. Lord Yahweh, Abram replied, how can I know that I shall possess it? He said to him, bring me a 3-year-old heifer, a 3-year-old she goat, a 3-year-old ram, a turtle dove, and a young pigeon. He brought him all these, split the animals down the middle, and placed each half opposite the other, but the birds he did not divide. And whenever birds of prey swooped down on the carcasses, Abram drove them off. Now, as the sun was on the point of setting, a trance fell on Abram, and a deep, dark dread descended on him. Then Yahweh said to Abram, know this for certain, that your descendants will be exiles in a land not their own, and be enslaved and oppressed for 400 years. By, but I shall bring judgment on the nation that enslaves them, and after this they will leave with many possessions. For your part, you will join your ancestors in peace. You will be buried at a happy old age. In the fourth generation, they will come back here, for until the iniquity of the Amorites will not have reached its full extent. When the sun had set and it was dark, there appeared a smoking firepot and a flaming torch passing between the animals' pieces. That day Yahweh made a covenant with Abram in these terms. To your descendants I give this country, from the river of Egypt to the great river, the river Euphrates, the Kenites, the Kenizzites, the Cadmonites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Rephaim, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Girgashites, and the Jebusites. The birth of Ishmael. Abram's wife Sarah had borne him no child, but she had an Egyptian slave girl called Hagar. So Sarah said to Abram, listen now, since Yahweh has kept me from having children, go to my slave girl. Perhaps I shall get children through her. And Abram took Sarah's advice. Thus, after Abram had lived in the land of Canaan for 10 years, Sarah took Hagar, her Egyptian slave girl, and gave her to Abram as his wife. He went to Hagar, and she conceived. And when she knew she had conceived, her mistress counted for nothing in her eyes. Then Sarah said to Abram, this outrage done to me is your fault. It was I who put my slave girl into your arms, but now she knows that she has conceived. I count for nothing in her eyes. Yahweh judge between me and you. Very well, Abram said to Sarah, your slave girl is at your disposal. Treat her as you think fit. Sarah accordingly treated her so badly that she ran away from her. The angel of Yahweh found her by a spring in the desert, spring of the on the road to Shur. He said, Hagar, slave of Sarah, where have you come from and where are you going? I am running away from my mistress Sarah, she replied. The angel of Yahweh said to her, go back to your mistress and submit to her. The angel of Yahweh further said to her, I shall make your descendants too numerous to be counted. Then the angel of Yahweh said to her, now you have conceived and will bear a son, and you shall name him Ishmael, for Yahweh has heard your cries of distress. A wild donkey of a man he will be, his hand against every man, and every man's hand against him, living his life in defiance of all his kinsmen. Hagar gave a name to Yahweh who had spoken to her. You are El Roi, by which she meant, "Did I not go on seeing here after him who sees me?" This is why the well is called the well of Laharoy. It is between Kadesh and Pered. Hagar bore Abram a son, and Abram gave his son bore by Hagar the name Ishmael. Abram was 86 years old when Hagar bore Ishmael. The covenant and circumcision. When Abram was 99 years old, Yahweh appeared to him and said, "I am El Shaddai. Live in my presence, be perfect, and I shall grant a covenant between myself and you, and make you very numerous." And Abram bowed to the ground. God spoke to him as always. God spoke to him as follows: "For my part, this is my covenant with you. You will become the father of many nations, and you are no longer to be called Abram. Your name is to be Abraham, for I am making you a father of many nations. I shall make you exceedingly fertile. I shall make you into nations, and your issue will be kings. And I shall maintain my covenant between myself and you, and your descendants after you, generation after generation, as a covenant in perpetuity, to be your God and the God of your descendants after you. And to you and to your descendants after you, I shall give the country where you are now immigrants, the entire land of Canaan to own in perpetuity, and I will be their God." God further said to Abraham, "You, for your part, must keep my covenant, you and your descendants after you, generation after generation. This is my covenant which you must keep between myself and you, and your descendants after you. Every one of your males must be circumcised. You must circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and that will be the sign of the covenant between myself and you. As soon as he is 8 days old, every one of your males, generation after generation, must be circumcised, including slaves born within the household, or bought from a foreigner not of your descent. Whether born within the household or not are bought, they must be circumcised. My covenant must be marked in your flesh as a covenant in perpetuity. The uncircumcised male whose foreskin has not been circumcised, that person must be cut off from his people. He has broken my covenant. Furthermore, God said to Abraham, "As regards to your wife Sarah, you must not call her Sarai, but Sarah. I shall bless her, and moreover give you a son by her. I shall bless her, and she will become nations. Kings of people will issue from her." Abraham bowed to the ground, and he laughed, thinking to himself, "Is a child to be born to a man 100 years old, and Sarah will have a child at the age of 90?" Abraham said to God, "May Ishmael live in your presence. That will be enough." But God replied, "Yes, your wife Sarah will bear you a son, whom you must name Isaac. And I shall maintain my covenant with him, a covenant in perpetuity, to be his God and the God of his descendants after him. For Ishmael too I grant you your request. I hereby bless him and will make him fruitful and exceedingly numerous. He will be the father of 12 princes, and I shall make him into a great nation. But my covenant I shall maintain with Isaac, whom Sarah will bear you at this time next year." When she had when he had finished speaking to Abraham, God went up from him. Then Abraham took his own son Ishmael, all the slaves born in the household, or whom he had bought, in short, all the males among the people of Abraham's household, and circumcised their foreskins that day, as God had said to him. Abraham was 99 years old when his foreskin was circumcised. Ishmael was 13 years old when his foreskin was circumcised. Abraham and his son Ishmael were circumcised on the very same day, and all the men of his household, those born in the household and those bought from foreigners, were circumcised with him. The apparition of Mamre. Yahweh appeared to him at the oak of Mamre while he was sitting by the entrance of the tent during the hottest part of the day. He looked up, and there he saw 3 men standing near him. As soon as he saw them, he ran from the entrance of the tent to greet them and bowed to the ground. "My lord," he said, If I find favor with you, please do not pass by your servant. Do not pass by your servant by. Let me have a little water brought, and you can wash your feet and have a rest under this tree. Let me fetch a little bread, and you can refresh yourselves before going further. Now that you have come in your servant's direction, they replied, do as you say. Abraham hurried to the tent and said to Sarah, quick, knead 3 measures of best flour and make loaves. Then running to the herd, Abram took a fine and tender calf and gave it to the servant who hurried to prepare it. Then, taking curds, milk, and the calf which had been prepared, he laid all before them, and they ate, while he remained standing near them under the tree. "Where is your wife Sarah?" they asked him. "She is in the tent," he replied. Then his guests said, "I shall come back to you next year, and then your wife Sarah will have a son." Sarah was listening at the entrance of the tent behind him. Now Abraham and Sarah were old, well on in years, and Sarah had ceased to have her monthly periods. So Sarah laughed to herself, thinking, "Now that I am past the age of childbearing, my husband is an old man. Is pleasure to come my way again?" But Yahweh asked Abraham, "Why did Sarah laugh and say, 'Am I really going to have a child now that I am old?' Nothing is impossible for Yahweh. I shall come back to you at the same time next year, and Sarah will have a son." Sarah said, "I did not laugh," lying because she was afraid. But he replied, "Oh, yes, you did." Abraham intercedes for Sodom. From there the men set out and arrived within sight of Sodom, with Abraham accompanying them to speed on their way. Now Yahweh had wondered, "Shall I conceal from Abraham what I am going to do? As Abraham will become a great and powerful nation, and that all nations on earth will bless themselves by him. For I have singled him out to command his sons and his family after him to keep the way of Yahweh by doing what is upright and just, so that Yahweh can carry out for Abraham what he has promised him." Then Yahweh said, "The outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah is so great and their sin is so grave that I shall go down and see whether or not their actions are at all as the outcry reaching me would suggest. Then I shall know." While the men left there and went to Sodom, Yahweh remained in Abraham's presence. Abraham stepped forward and said, "Will you really destroy the upright with the guilty? Suppose there are 50 upright people in the city. Will you really destroy it? Will you not spare the place for the sake of the 50 upright in it? Do not think of doing such a thing to put the upright to death with the guilty, so that upright and guilty fare alike. Is the judge of the whole world not to act justly?" Yahweh replied, "If I find 50 upright people in the city of Sodom, I shall spare the whole place because of them." Abraham spoke up and said, "Is it presumptuous of me to speak to the Lord? I who am dust and ashes. Suppose the 50 upright were 5 short. Would you destroy the whole city because of 5? No," he replied. "I would not destroy if I find 45 there." Abraham persisted and said, "Suppose there are 40 to be found." "I will not do it," he replied, "for the sake of the 40." Abraham said, "I hope the Lord will not be angry if I go on. Suppose there are only 30 to be found." "I will not do it," he replied, "if I find 30 there." He said, "Is it presumptuous of me to speak to the Lord? Suppose there are only 20 there." "I will not destroy it," he replied, "for the sake of the 20." He said, "I trust my Lord will not be angry if I ask. If I speak once more, perhaps there will only be 10." "I will not destroy it," he replied, "for the sake of the 10." When he had finished talking to Abraham, Yahweh went away, and Abraham returned home. The destruction of Sodom. When 2 angels reached Sodom in the evening, Lot was sitting at the gate of Sodom. As soon as Lot saw them, he stood up to greet them and bowed to the ground. "My lords," he said, "please come down to your servant's house to stay the night and wash your feet. Then you can make an early start on your journey." "No," they said, "we shall spend the night in the square." But he pressed them so much that they went home with him and entered his house. He prepared a meal for them, baking unleavened bread, and they had supper. They had not gone to bed when the house was surrounded by the townspeople, the men of Sodom, both young and old, all the people without exception. Calling out to Lot, they said, "Where are the men who came to you tonight? Send them out to us so that we can have intercourse with them." Lot came out to them at the door, and having shut the door behind him, said, "Please, brothers, do not be wicked. Look, I have two daughters who are virgins. I am ready to send them out to you, for you to treat as you please. But do nothing to these men, since they are under the protection of my roof." But they retorted, "Stand back. This fellow here came here as a foreigner, and now he wants to play the judge. Now we shall treat you worse than them." Then they forced Lot back and moved forward to break down the door. But the men reached out, pulled Lot back into the house with them, and shut the door. And they dazzled those who were at the door of the house, one and all, with a blinding light, so that they could not find the doorway. The men said to Lot, "Have you anyone else here? Your sons, your daughters, and all your people in the city? Take them away, for we are about to destroy this place. Since the outcry to Yahweh against those in it has grown so loud that Yahweh has sent us to destroy it." So Lot went off and spoke to his future son in laws who were to marry his daughters. "On your feet," he said. "Leave this place, for Yahweh is about to destroy the city." But his son in laws thought he was joking. When dawn broke, the angels urged Lot on. "On your feet, take your wife and your two daughters who are here, or you will be swept away in the punishment of the city." And as he hesitated, the men seized his hands and the hands of his wife and his two daughters, Yahweh being merciful to him, and led him out and left him outside the city. When they had brought him outside, he was told, "Flee for your life. Do not look behind you or stop anywhere on the plain. Flee to the hills, or you will be swept away." "Oh no, my lord," Lot said to them. "You have already been very good to your servant and shown me greater love by saving my life. But I cannot flee to the hills, or disaster will overtake me and I shall die. That town over there is near enough to flee to, and is small. Let me flee there. After all, it is only a small place, and so survive." He replied, "I grant you this favor too, and will not overthrow the town you speak of. Hurry, flee to that one, for I cannot do anything until you reach it. That is why the town is named Zoar." The sun rose over the horizon just as Lot was entering Zoar. Then Yahweh rained down on Sodom and Gomorrah brimstone and fire of his own sending. He overthrew those cities and the whole plain, with all the people living in the cities and everything that grew there. But Lot's wife looked back and was turned into a pillar of salt. Next morning, Abraham hurried to the place where he had stood before Yahweh, and looking towards Sodom and Gomorrah and the whole area of the plain, he saw the smoke rising from the ground like a smoke from a furnace. Thus it was that when God destroyed the cities of the plain, he did not forget Abraham, and he rescued Lot from the midst of the overthrow, when he overthrew the cities where Lot was living. The origin of Moabites and the Ammonites. After leaving Zoar, Lot settled in the hill country with his two daughters, for he dared not stay at Zoar. He lived in a cave, he and his two daughters. Excuse me. The elder said to the younger, "Our father is an old man, and there is no one here to marry us in the normal way of the world. Come on, let us ply our father with wine and sleep with him. In this way we can preserve the race by our father." That night they made their father drunk, and their elder slept with her father, though he was unaware of her coming to bed or of her leaving. The next day the elder said to the younger, "Last night I was the one who slept with our father. Let us make him drink again tonight, and you go sleep with him. In this way we can preserve the race by our father." They made their father drunk that night too, and the younger went and slept with him, though he was unaware of her coming to bed or her leaving. Both Lot's daughters thus became pregnant by their father. The elder gave birth to a son, whom she named Moab, and he is the ancestor of the Moabites of our own times. The younger also gave birth to a son, whom she named Ben Ami, and he is the ancestor of the Beni Ammon of our own times. Abraham at Gerar. Abraham left there for the region of the Negeb and settled between Kadesh and Shur, while staying in Gerar. Abraham said of his wife Sarah, "She is my sister," and Abimelech, the king of Gerar, had Sarah brought to him, but God visited Abimelech in a dream one night. "You are to die," he told him, "because of the woman you have taken. She is a married woman." Abimelech, however, had gone not gone near her. So he said, "Lord, would you kill someone even if he was upright? Did he not tell me himself, 'She is my sister'?" And she herself said, "He is my brother. I did this with a clear conscience and clean hands." "Yes, I know," God replied in the dream, "that you did this with a clear conscience, and I myself prevented you from sinning against me. That was why I did not let you touch her. Now send the man's wife back, for he is a prophet and can intercede on your behalf for your life. But understand that if you do not send her back, this means death for you and all yours." Early next morning, Abimelech summoned his full court and told them the whole story, at which the people were very much afraid. Then summoning Abraham, Abimelech said to him, "What have you done to us? What wrong have I done for you to bring such a guilt on me and my kingdom? You had no right to treat me like this." Abimelech then said to Abraham, "What possessed you to do such a thing?" Because," Abraham replied, "I thought there would be no fear of God here, and that I should be killed for the sake of my wife. Anyway, she really is my sister, my father's daughter, though not my mother's, besides being my wife. So when God made me wander far from my father's home, I said to her, 'There is an act of love you can do for me. Everywhere we go, say of me that I am your brother.'" Abimelech took sheep, cattle, men, and women slaves and presented them to Abraham, and gave him back his wife Sarah. And Abimelech said, "Look, my land is open to you. Settle wherever you please." To Sarah he said, "Look, I am giving your brother 1,000 pieces of silver. This will allay suspicions about you. As far as all the people around you are concerned, you have been completely vindicated." Abraham then interceded with God, and God healed Abimelech and his wife and his slave girls so that they could have children. For Yahweh had made all the women of Abimelech's household barren on account of Sarah, Abraham's wife. Yahweh treated Sarah as he said and did what he promised her. Sarah conceived and bore Abraham a son in his old age. At the time God had promised, Abraham named the son born to him Isaac, the son to whom Sarah had given birth. Abraham circumcised his son Isaac when he was 8 days old, as God had commanded him. Abraham was 100 years old when his son Isaac was born to him. Sarah said, "God has given me cause to laugh. All who hear about this will laugh with me," she added. "Whoever would have told Abraham that would nurse children? Yet I have borne a son in his old age." The dismissal of Hagar and Ishmael. The child grew and was weaned, and Abraham gave a great banquet on the day Isaac was weaned. Now Sarah watched the son that Hagar the Egyptian had born. To Abraham, playing with her son Isaac, "Drive away that slave girl and her son," she said to Abraham. "This slave girl's son is not to share the inheritance with my son Isaac." This greatly distressed Abraham, because the slave girl's child was his son. But God said to him, "Do not distress yourself on the account of the boy and your slave girl. Do whatever Sarah says, for Isaac is the one through whom your name will be carried on. The slave girl's son I shall also make him into a great nation, for he too is your child." Early next morning, Abraham took some bread and a skin of water and gave them to Hagar, put the child on her shoulder, and sent her away. She wandered off into the desert of Beersheba. When the skin of water was finished, she abandoned the child under a bush. Then she went and sat down at a distance about a bow shot away, thinking, "I cannot bear to see the child die." Sitting at a distance, she began to sob. God, hearing the boy crying, and the angel of God called to Hagar from heaven. "What is wrong, Hagar?" he asked. "Do not be afraid, for God has heard the boy's cry and his plight. Go and pick up the boy and hold him safe, for I shall make him into a great nation." Then God opened Hagar's eyes, and she saw a well. So she went and filled the skin with water and gave the boy a drink. God was with the boy. He grew up and made his home in the desert, and he became an archer. He made his home in the desert of Paran, and his wife and his mother got him a wife from Egypt. Abraham and Abimelech at Beersheba. About then, Abimelech and Phicol, the commander of his army, said to Abraham, "Since God is with you in everything you do, swear to me by God here and now that you will not act treacherously towards me or my kith and kin, but behave with the same faithful love to me and the land of which you are a guest, as I have behaved to you." "Yes," Abraham replied, "I swear." Abraham then approached Abimelech about a while. Then Abimelech's servants had ceased. "I do not know who has done this. Abimelech, you yourself have never mentioned it to me, and for myself I heard nothing of it till today." Abraham then took sheep and cattle and presented them to Abimelech, and the two of them made a covenant. Abraham put 7 lambs of the flock on one side. "Why have you put these 7 lambs on one side?" Abimelech asked Abraham. He replied, "You must accept these 7 lambs from me as evidence that I have dug this well." This was why the place was called Beersheba, because there the two of them swore an oath. After they had made a covenant at Beersheba, Abimelech and Phicol, the commander of his army, left and went back to the Philistine territory. And Abraham planted a tamarisk at Beersheba, and there he invoked the name of Yahweh. Abraham stayed for a while in the Philistine territory.